Welcome to the Char Chit Chat, a podcast exploring all things biochar related, coming to you from a small sheep and tree farm in the deep south of New Zealand. Hi Phil.
Hey Dylan.
For those of you who didn't hear our chat in season 1, Phil Stevens is the chair of Biochar Network New Zealand, and he is a very strong biochar advocate. But for those who didn't hear you in season 1, please give us a quick overview of your background.
I sort of came into the biochar world via permaculture and regenerative agriculture and my deep-seated desire to do something positive for the climate. So when I came across biochar and really learned the story, it seemed to me like kind of like the magic elixir, I guess, something that sat at the center of all these things and was beneficial in so many ways. So yeah, I got into it boots and all about a dozen years ago and started experimenting with making it, learning, all I could about different things you could do with it. And over the years got into, especially at least in terms of what I produce, a lot of flame cap production because it fits the type of feedstocks I have good access to, and got very deeply involved in advocacy, education. I love running workshops. I love getting in front of people and talking about biochar and hands-on demos of how it's made and how it's used. And then, of course, through being one of the founding members of the BNNZ, getting very involved with some of the policy discussions. And so talking to councils and people in government about, trying to formally recognize biochar's value and help to encourage it and help us scale it up. And that's kind of led me to where I am today, which is doing all those things pretty much all the time.
Nice. Okay. And what age bracket do you fit into?
I'm an old fart. You can put me in the over 60 group. So yeah, not 1 foot in the grave, but definitely older. My kids are grown. I'm in that sort of phase where some Bill McKibben calls it the third act, and a lot of the climate activists who are retired or nearly semi-retired, maybe looking for something to do with their time and energy, expertise, and networks. And I feel like I've still got a lot of productive years in front of me if I stay healthy, and just, I'm, quite passionate about expanding biochar and regenerative principles generally.
Well, you're really young, 60 to me, Phil. I couldn't believe you were in your 60s. I thought you were probably early 50s. So you're tracking to be healthy and have a long life and contribute a lot. So that's great. Well, I'm actually with Phil in his house. I'm staying with him for a couple of nights because we've just done a Biochar Network stand at Fieldays up in Hamilton, Mystery Creek. So I went up, then I've traveled down with Phil. I'm going to go and see some of the other people involved as well on my way back down to Wellington, where I've got my brother, and then I'm going to fly back home. So could you summarize how was Fieldays for you and for the Biochar Network New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm still kind of coming down off the high. I think it was a great show. We had a good turnout. We had a really good effort from the team. So first of all, I just have to give a shout out to our crew, to yourself, to John Raitt, to Trevor, to John McDonald-Wari, Betsy, the bee. So, all the people who were there, yes. Simon Day. So all the people who were there at the stand helping with the work of feeding the kontiki, putting out the sausages and the sweet corn, talking to the scores of people who came through with lots of interest, lots of good questions. And to me, one of the really heartening developments that was more noticeable this year was the number of people who came to us seeking us out, who already knew about biochar and were keen to start either making or using it or both. So we had a lot of people coming and say, yep, I know about biochar. I'm excited by it. I want to get into it, in a real sense. So yeah, it was a really good Fieldays. The weather was nice. The crowds were good. Everything about it was really positive from the, from the point of view of being an exhibitor and at the forestry hub. Again, having that cross flow and synergy with groups like the farm foresters and the native tree nurseries and things like that, I think was also very good, because we are, it's an obvious fit, since we represent a way to turn a lot of that biomass residue into something valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for people who don't really know what we were doing there, so the forestry hub had a massive big marquee, and it had a front entrance and also a side entrance, and our store was kind of at that side entrance, so people coming out, and we kind of took the corner of that with a display. So we had 3 boards up with probably about almost 20 posters on that, and then we had this camp kitchen style setup with a kontiki kiln that was, on the go, making biochar while cooking the sausages and some corn. And then that was kind of attracting people who were coming out the forestry hub or coming off one of the streets and coming in through that access way, coming to have a look and see, oh, what is this? And oh, there's fire and there's smoke and nice smells and lots of people hanging around. And then they would come and say, oh, what are you selling? And we're like, no, we're not selling anything. Would you like a sausage? And would you like some biochar to take away? So I think it's something different at Fieldays, and I think people appreciated that. And it was certainly a good way in for us to start talking about biochar. Especially, I was always asking when they came for the second piece of sausage, I'd say, okay, now you have to ask a question about biochar. And most people were quite happy to ask a question, and that starts little conversations, or sometimes it's just, simple, quick question and answer, and then they're off. And yeah, for me, it was really valuable. I had lots of good chats with lots of different people, and I think it's really worthwhile for our members that we get a stall there and we are visible and out there and exposing quite a large number of people to it that might not have had it, or, like you say, are interested and want to know a little bit more. So I think it's really valuable. As chair of BNNZ, what are your priorities for the rest of this year?
It's going to be just building on the foundation, leveraging some of the the work that's already underway. We've got some really good conversations going on particularly with MPI at the moment, about embedding biochar into some trials and some commercialization opportunities. The issue of standards and quality assurance for large users of biochar is very front of mind. So we're promoting the ANSBIG Code of Practice. And following on the heels of that, of course, ANSBIG is in the last phases of developing the Australian standard for biochar, which I hope gets adopted over here in due course. So it just gives us more credibility and more, in terms of assuring the markets that are, especially our export markets, that this is a regulated product with real quality standards, and it's safe for the food chain. It's safe for the primary industries to adopt it at scale. So, part of the commercialization focus of ANSBIG and BNNZ is in this sort of de-risking of markets, so that both the producers and the users can have a lot of confidence in quality and in efficacy of the product.
So that means that when someone wants to buy it to put it in their garden or to feed it to their livestock, they'll be able to go and see the product with a label, and that label should be fully transparent in the quality of that biochar, how it was made, what its feedstock was, and then be able to basically compare that to any other product that's also available. Is that the kind of key driver?
Exactly. It's mainly there to give assurances to the customer that this was made with a sustainable source of biomass feedstock, that production methods were good, not using, say, lots of fossil fuels, not polluting, not causing some sort of secondary problem, externalized onto the neighbors, for instance, and that it's been batch tested, so that that there aren't any heavy metals or problematic things in it, so that it truly is safe and okay to use.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of producers looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it so that I can compare one against the other and know what I'm buying. All right, on a personal level, you're focusing a lot more of your time now on biochar work. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what you're offering to the world?
Yeah. So over the years, I've been trying to get as deeply into it as possible and still support myself and maintain a livelihood. And I've done so without having a lot of my own capital to invest. So it's been very much a bootstrap sort of operation. But at this point, I've got several different things that I'm doing that are biochar related. Obviously, I'm doing the governance work, advocacy and policy work through BNNZ and ANSBIG.
Mm-hmm.
I get out and do workshops and education, and get in front of groups and talk about biochar, or actually demonstrate, usually a flame cap type burn. I will go out and do consulting for somebody who's interested in using biochar. So if there's, say, somebody who's got a possibility of doing a feeding trial or horticultural application or an environmental application, I'm available to do that sort of work. I am very deeply involved in project development, and that's going out and talking to commercial operators. So going out and talking to businesses, usually in the wood processing industry, sawmills and the like, who have large volumes of biomass, and talking to them about getting big industrial pyrolysis plants set up to generate heat, to crank out biochar. And these have a lot of opportunities to solve multiple problems for a mill owner, because in making large volumes of biochar, you're also producing quite a bit of heat. That heat can be used at the site for kiln drying, or could be used to generate electricity. So you've got a revenue stream there. You've got the biochar itself as a marketable commodity, and once you get into a certain scale of output, you've got the carbon credits on the voluntary markets. So 3 revenue streams, quite a compelling business case.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
Oh, and of course, I'm making it myself. I'm still making a fair bit. I'm here at the property. I'm cooking up my offcuts, the prunings from my orchard and around the shelter belts and the agroforestry. I collect whatever neighbors bring me trailer loads of garden prunings. I get everything from the community orchard. So I'm bit of a hoarder of biomass. I love just, if I see branches on the side of the road, I'll kind of mark the spot, and next time I'm passing by with my trailer, I'll load them on. And then I also go over to a local sawmiller and pyrolyze his offcuts, and that's actually been a major source of feedstock for me recently, making quite a bit with that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to chat about today?
Oh, I just, I'm always looking at the the development of the network and the movement, and I would have to say that in terms of where BNNZ stands right now, it's really heartening to see the onboarding of a couple of more really strong community organizations, with City to Farm and Slash for Cash coming along, and then expanding our commercial membership is also a big priority, and that's starting to happen as well. So it's great, because it means we've got more depth to our membership, and just a wider range of interests and activities. And I think the whole thing becomes stronger as we get to this sort of critical mass. The next big push, obviously, is going to be to try to get some more wins at the central government level, and a lot of that hinges on what happens in November. So yeah, watch the space.
Yeah. All right, well, thanks very much for that update, Phil. It's very nice to hear from you again and let people know that biochar is on the up, and that we're really positive about biochar and its future in New Zealand. And thank you for what you do, and I look forward to keep working with you to progress our cause.
Great. Well, pleasure's all mine, and yeah, thanks for what you're doing too.
You're welcome. All right, thanks. Great. Bye for now.
See ya.